evening, everybody. It's Tom Stoukas coming to you from Sarnia, Ontario on October 30th, Devil's Night. Hope everybody's having a nice night. Getting ready for Halloween tomorrow, I guess. So we had a little bit of a break today. We didn't have to listen to Doug Ford open his fat mouth and screw Canada and Ontario over more with his big fat mouth. He's taking a break today. After yesterday, he was publicly demanded the U.S. ambassador apologize for swearing at his trade representative. Yeah, so at least he took a day off. We don't have to listen to him today. But it's interesting buzz around Ottawa is that we're going to have an election because his budget's going to suck so bad that nobody's going to want to support it. And then the idea is the Liberals think they can get a majority this time around. So yeah, I don't know. Another election, that'd be crazy. So it should be interesting next week or two. The rumors and news coming out of Ottawa regarding the budget plus chances of an election. It's crazy, but people think, oh, Carney's no good. He can't win. I'm like, we're in commie Canada. Yeah, he could totally win a majority because he gets all his support from lots of immigrant enclave ridings ridings that are controlled by whether it's Indians or Muslims or Sri Lankans, whatever. They all vote for Liberals. Plus, you got those elbows up, like the elbows up crowd that, they'll vote Liberal. They hate Pierre. And then you got the conservatives, the fake conservatives that don't really like Pierre, so they're gonna vote for Carney, who's kind of like more their style. So yeah, I think the Liberals could totally win a majority. And if you look at it too, the NDP doesn't have a leader right now. They have an interim leader. And so Trump's starting to get, they're putting Trump in as the boogeyman again. Like, he was boogeyman. He hasn't gone away as the boogeyman, but they're highlighting it more lately. So, yeah. And Pierre hasn't really been lighting it up as the opposition leader. He's been going kind of from issue to issue. And, I mean, what he says makes sense, I guess, but he doesn't seem to be gaining... like, he's not, like, lighting fires or anything like that. So, I mean, I didn't think there was going to be a chance of an election around Christmas, and now people are starting to talk about it. So all we can do is wait and see. So that's the big developments today. So let's just go through my posts of the day. First, I saw this. I thought this was interesting because they're trying to do this everywhere in Canada and in the States, is build up these huge, they don't like single family houses anymore. They want these multiplexes so they can pack in more third world immigrants. This is in Burnaby. Growing public backlash in Burnaby against multiplex monstrosities wrecking single family neighborhoods. Ugly 4-story tall multiplexes are towering over 1950s bungalows. Yeah. This is like a lot of developers like this because they can build a bunch of units where only one house stood before. And the federal government is rewarding municipalities for approving this kind of stuff. I don't really like it. If I lived on, like, if my street and something like that came on my street, it'd be horrible. Commie BC, yes. I always complain about Ontario, but BC's almost as bad. I think it's pretty bad too. Really bad. Okay. Next. This is interesting, and I think this applies to Sarnia, anywhere in Ontario, anywhere. If you have kids, you should be concerned. Is one of the it's about the Alberta teacher strike. So one of the things Alberta teachers are struggling with is the growing number of students who can't speak English. Immigration overload has been a disaster for our schools. But has the teachers union raised the issue with the feds? Of course not. And I've been saying this before, is a lot of this is bad in Toronto, is they're just dumping these kids into the school system. They don't basically speak English. Some of them have never been to school before, and the teachers expect to just take the work and take the students and make it work. And it's kind of funny, I thought, is the teachers work in this woke school system. You know, they have the rainbow flags everywhere. They have the critical race theory saying how bad racism is. So now they're in a bind, the teachers, because if they complain about the third world immigrants getting dumped on them, and they don't want to work and do the work, they didn't sign up for that. If they complain, then they'll either look racist or they'll get excommunicated by the woke administration of the schools, like lose their jobs. So, or heaven forbid, they sound racist. You know. So I want to read this article. It's a big problem. It's like it's just like the healthcare system. When you get more people, it strains the system. The housing, when you get more people, it makes the housing more expensive. And when you have more students, it puts more stress on the teachers. And you know, not to mention the students, the Canadian students who just want an education. Okay. Problem with simply cramming. Let's see this. The problem with simply cramming never before seen volumes of students who can't speak English into overcrowded classrooms is that one day teachers will snap. And that's the kind of what we're seeing in Alberta, though. Neither the government nor the Teachers Association has made a point of trying to solve the issue. So yeah, they just had a teacher strike and they got sent back to work by the province. But like I said, the teachers aren't going to talk about this because they don't want to look like they're racist. See, they backed themselves into a corner there with all their woke BS over the years. Okay. Most kids have been locked out of schools for a whole month because we're told classes are reaching 40 plus students and because classrooms' needs are becoming more complex, a euphemism for kids with disabilities and or low English capability. Okay. Okay. 40 plus people in a class, that's horrible. I'm this close, like, I want to get my kids out of school already. Like, it's only going to get worse with this. It's bad enough they're teaching them all this dumb woke BS and CRT and teaching them to hate themselves and the planet's going to die and all this whatever. It's bad enough they're teaching all that. But then they're got to flood the schools with third world students who are going to kill them or at least, you know, distract the teachers from teaching them, like giving them an education. Or you'll get killed. A lot of violence in the Toronto schools. Okay. Edmonton Public Schools' proportion of English learners went from 14%. Proportion of English learners? English, okay, so people didn't speak English. Proportion of English learners went from 14% in 2021 to 16% in 2024. Okay, so that's like 16% don't know English. That's crazy, and it's only going to get worse. Anyway, I'm not going to read the whole article, but it's becoming an issue. And, you know, if Carney wins a majority, oh my God, we're going to just get flooded more and more. He loves immigrants. Okay. Here's another story we've been We've talked about this before. At Pick Your Own Farms across Ontario, farmers report surge in theft. Okay, so this looks like just a follow on the previous stories. Farmers across Ontario are reporting a surge in thefts this year, costing some tens of thousands of dollars in lost revenue. Trend appears to have hit Pick Your Own Farms the hardest, where customers have unsupervised access to products. Okay. Unfortunately, seen customers put them in strollers and wagons, overfilling it, just trying to make as much as they can without paying for it. Okay. Wonder who these people are. Okay. It doesn't say who they are. It kind of would be nice to kind of give a description. But I have an idea. It's maybe third world immigrants who don't understand what high trust societies, how they operate. Okay. Some farmers say if the trend continues, they will be forced to consider closing Pick Your Own services for good. So there you go. Another Canadian cultural tradition. What did I say? Another Canadian tradition destroyed by mass immigration. What's next? What next will be destroyed? What's this? Drug crimes up for first time in 12 years, bucking long-term national trend. Drug crimes. More good news. Okay. This is funny. Every day is so stressful. Canadians struggling with affordability, hoping for some help in upcoming budget. I thought this was hilarious. Like, they're hoping for help from this government. I mean, like, they're the ones who really cause all the problems. But talk about commie Canada. I want to see this article here. Let's hope for the Liberals to come help us from the problems they created. For the millions of Canadians living paycheck to paycheck, affordability is top of mind when it comes to the federal budget set to be tabled next week. Mark Carney's already announced some affordability measures, including automatic benefits, which will make tax filing easier, protecting the school food programming, and lower costs for families traveling over the holidays. Yeah, I don't think that's going to help. When you can't pay your rent, I don't think free school lunch is going to save you. All right. CBC hates white people. That was the Second Sons at the CBC offices in Ottawa, and I can't remember where else. But, yeah, they do. It's a total Marxist propaganda organization. Of course they hate white people. They won't hire any. It's like 85% of their hires are non-white. All right. Here's some more commie Canada, woke Canada. No wonder Trump doesn't respect Canada. Recky Valdez, who is she? Minister of Women and Gender Equality, of course. Over $500 million of stable and predictable funding in Budget 2025 to empower women, address gender-based violence, and support 2SLGBTQI plus communities. Because the strongest economy in the G7 includes everyone. Sounds like a commie to me. $500 million for whatever the hell that is. Looks like the gay agenda, or the trans degenerate agenda. Let's spend $500 million on that. I'm confused. Like, I don't know what they're doing with this budget. Like, they're saying it's going to be a tough budget. We have to make sacrifices, and then they hint at $500 million in basically wasting $500 million. I don't know what's going on here. Oh, this is funny too. Apparently there's a town in northern Ontario that's called Swastika. A small mining town of Swastika, Ontario. A most unfortunate name, but the town refuses to change it. It predates Hitler's adoption of the symbol and its association with hate. I didn't know there was a swastika. Town named Swastika. Could you imagine living in Swastika? All right. This is Dominion Society. Canada needs nationalism. Canada needs remigration. And the failed experiment of multiculturalism. Yes. They went a little crazy on the multiculturalism here. All right. Speaking of we have John A. MacDonald. I saw this. I just finished this book I was reading on John A. MacDonald. It's the second volume. There was 2 volumes. That's how long a career he had. And he really did a lot for Canada. He worked tirelessly to keep Canada together as it faced trade challenges and annexation threats from the U.S., just like what's going on today. He raised a severely disabled daughter, treated her like she wasn't like just like a normal girl, when most people that time would shuttle someone like that to an institution, because there's a lot of shame having a disabled daughter. She had like water on the brain or something that could have been treated now, but anyway, he kept her and he treated her like he was a doting father on her. And then he had to deal with all these people that were trying to break up Canada, both within Canada and outside of Canada. And he worked right till the end. He died in office. He was like an old man when he was dead. He died of old age as Prime Minister. Very inspirational, but unfortunately there are no John A. caliber leaders in Canada today. That's a problem. Canada had the problems we're facing today. It had those problems back then, but we had, guys who were willing to put the work in and get the job done. Now all we have is traders, paid traders. Yeah. And they took him off the $10 bill. How disrespectful. I don't even know, they put some woman on there, some black chick. I don't even know her name. Okay. Here's Alan Dershowitz. I saw this today. Our enemy now is Canada, Harvard professor Alan Dershowitz says on Israel policy. I was like, this is the guy who defended O.J. Simpson and Jeffrey Epstein. So I'm not too worried about him being enemies with this guy. I definitely don't want to be his friend. Okay. He's in favor of Trump putting tariffs on Canada for statements regarding Israel and Netanyahu, even sanctions, perhaps. What a guy, eh? Look at this demon. Yeah. Next post. This is Pierre. This pisses me off with Pierre. He's saying the reason Canadians can't afford a house, or because they can't afford rent, is because builders can't afford to build, sellers can't afford to sell, buyers can't afford to buy, because government blocks home building and drives up prices with taxes, fees, and red tape. It's like, yeah, he doesn't mention immigration, of course, which is the number one cause of the housing crisis. All these foreign buyers flooding into Canada, driving up the price. Scrap the sales tax. Scrap the sales tax on new homes, slash building taxes, and get government out of the way so Canadians can build and buy affordable homes. more like so more Indians can come and give fake mortgages and buy more homes and drive the price up. I hate when politicians do this. Like when they say, "Oh, we need to build more homes, build faster." It's not that, man. I've seen building. They're building like crazy. It's not that. So we could build all the homes you want. If you keep importing millions of people, you're not going to keep up. And speaking of, you got the healthcare system, the education system, the housing. Now you got food banks. Keep hitting new records faster than ever before, according to a report. More than 4.1 million visits made to Toronto food banks from March to April 24 to April 25. So, yeah, a lot of immigrants are using these food banks because they like the free food, most of them. It's not caused by Trump, but by our trader leaders. All this situation in Canada, whether it's with the schools or whether it's with the healthcare or the housing or the food banks, all this was taking place before Trump got reelected. So, but now they're going to try and win an election, maybe, a possible election, again on Trump. And it'll probably work. It's shameful, very shameful. Okay, here we go. Stephen McKinnon, this is the federal Liberals, believes there will be a Christmas election. I believe the Liberals will win a majority if we have another election. This is why Ford and Carney sabotage trade negotiations with the U.S. Liberals need Trump as an enemy. The timing makes sense with the budget coming up. Let's see what he says here.
In the case of Mr. Poilievre, he's determined to...
And are you still negotiating with?
all of them?
All of them?
Yeah, well, I don't know if negotiating is the word, but we're certainly hearing.
Are there any meetings scheduled up until now to the budget?
There have been many meetings. The finance minister, the prime minister, as you know, has had several meetings. Others, in my own case, yeah, we continue to talk to the opposition.
What are we headed towards election?
Well, I don't know. That's up to the opposition. I mean, in the case of Mr. Poilievre, he's determined to try and cause a Christmas election to perhaps, I don't know, maybe avoid the scrutiny that his party's giving him right now.
Giving the NDP more resources on the table to get their support for this budget?
Look, the NDP, I think, have made plain their request for that. You'll have to talk to them about
But is that on the table to get their support?
I don't get to decide for... I want to be very clear about this. The government does not decide on alone on support for opposition parties.
Constituents telling you about an election.
Yeah, they know about Christmas election.
Anyway, we'll find out. Right now, they always speculate on elections, but I don't think there will be an election. I can see the NDP voting. I can't see the NDP not voting for the budget because they have no leader, they have no money. They would get totally annihilated in an election. And of course, that's probably what the Liberals want. So I don't know. I just can't see it. But you never know. Never know. Maybe it's 50-50 chance now. Here's Jeremy McKenzie speaking of elections. Canada is far too divided, delusional, mentally ill, and entitled to be straightened out by politics or elections. Worst case scenario is locked in, but I take some comfort in knowing at least some of the people responsible will not escape justice. Yes, I don't think elections are going to fix the problems Canada's facing, but time will tell. Okay. This is the woke policy, the announcement. $500 million was for gender equality programs. I guess so about $55 million is going to support the LGBT community. So a little more breakdown on that $500 million. Yeah, money well spent there. Let's make the kids gay. Okay. Here's a little crime report. Man charged after several stalking incidents in Vaughan. I say this all the time too. This is the problem with a lot of the third world immigration that our trader leaders have brought in is the women and the girls of Canada have to look over the shoulders now. I mean, you always have to be careful, but now it's like living in India. What's this guy doing? In Vaughan, eh? Vaughan's going to shit. It's got home invasions, carjacking, shootings. Now this dude, Vipsian Velothia, whatever his name is, I don't know. Charged a man. Vaughan, police in York Region have charged a man accused of stalking 2 people, including a teenager, in Vaughan last month. So he follows them. Another stalking-related incident came to RP, and they said this one occurred in the area of Clark Avenue and Dufferin Street. Another youth reported being followed home from school by a male who asked if the victim worked in Newmarket and claimed to recognize him. Okay. Welcome to the new Canada. Okay. Here's another one for Edmonton. Edmonton's turning into a third world shithole. Alberta's population boom isn't sitting well with many Edmontonians. A new City News Canada Pulse Insights poll found most residents now link immigration to worsening local problems, from crowded hospitals to housing shortages. Isn't that what we were just saying? Yes. Over half say newcomers aren't having a positive impact, while 37% want immigration halted completely. It's only going to get higher, that number. Nearly 60% blame immigration for packed ERs, 64% for the housing crisis, and 69% for youth job struggles. Okay. Yeah, they flooded Edmonton with a lot of... Calgary and Edmonton. They just flooded those. They're still doing it, too. And I said here, it looks like fat trader Doug Ford taking the day off from slagging Trump and publicly demanding an apology from the U.S. ambassador. The damage is done and Ford should resign. Here's an editorial. I don't know. Let's see what this guy... Doug Ford's bad cop routine reaches its limits in Canada trade talks with the U.S. Let's see what he says. Sounds like what I've been saying. By Eric Ham. So he's a political analyst. I have a job to protect the largest economy in Canada, the engine of Canada. 16.5 million people. And that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm protecting the steel jobs, the auto jobs, the life sciences jobs, and the manufacturing jobs. That's my duty as Premier of Ontario. Yeah, he's not protecting anything. Ford made these comments during a public appearance after green-lighting an ad featuring U.S. President Ronald Reagan, speaking in opposition to tariffs. In addition to garnering more than 1 billion views, according to the Premier, the image and likeness of Republican icon Ronald Reagan has drawn the ire of mega icon Donald Trump. Okay. Getting under the president's notoriously thin skin has only exacerbated tensions, sending relations to perhaps their lowest point in years. Ford's full frontal assault strikes at the heart of Trump's narrative, extolling the many virtues of tariffs and the benefits of for the American people. No less using the godfather of modern republicanism's own words as a sword to strike down the MAGA president's core argument, is seen as both offensive and disrespectful. The spectacular, albeit careless offensive has sent Trump into a political tailspin, yet in an effort to punch back against his attack on Canada, Ford's rogue behavior wipes out any credibility the Prime Minister may have had with the President, not to mention any progress on trade talks that would have been a boon to the entire country, not just Ontario. Well, Ford is screwing us He's trying to do a leadership. He wants to become the federal conservative leader, so he wants to look tough. All right. Okay. Not to mention any progress on trade talks that would have been a boon to the... Okay. Carney, unwilling to pile on to the damage caused by the ad, says talks with the U.S. had been progressing on affected sectors like steel and aluminum. Okay. Surprisingly, Ford seems to believe the ad achieved its intended goal, which is to make sure that we got a fair deal, not a one-sided Donald Trump deal, but a fair deal for the people of Ontario and Canada, he said. Spoken like someone that has completely lost the plot, considering negotiations have stalled. Meanwhile, the president is blaming Carney, and millions of Ontarians are left in the lurch. Okay. Believe me, President Trump is not putting a deal together to benefit Canada. It's our job. It's the Prime Minister's job to get a deal that benefits all of Canada. It's not about the ad. It's about finding every excuse in the world not to get a deal, he also said. Yeah, that's Doug Ford there. Okay. In trying to beat the president at his own game, the premier has now exposed the very people he claims to have been fighting for to greater risk and harm. Tariffs have had a deleterious impact on both sides of the border. Moreover, the bad cop routine only goes so far, especially when your opponent is an equally worse cop and has much bigger arsenal. Ford's victory lap shows his interest and desire mirror those of Trump himself, clicks and eyeballs, claiming to fight for those he represents, all the while celebrating views and relatively paltry revenue generation begs the question, on whose behalf are you fighting? Anyway. It's been said if you fight with a fool long enough, eventually those watching cannot tell which one is the fool. Ford's latest fight with the volatile American president blurs the line as it once again leaves businesses and consumers on both sides of the border, both bloodied and battered, all while lost on which one is right and which one is wrong. So, some interesting points on that. Basically, Ford's an idiot. Picking a fight that Ontarians can't win. Speaking of, we got all these horrible, horrible leaders. We're talking about John A. MacDonald. We have no John A. Look at this clown. Imagine if this clown became the Premier of Alberta. What's his name? Naheed Nenshi. He's getting his flu vaccine. So he had to take a picture of it to show people. Look at those arms, man. Would you vote for this? Imagine if Alberta had this guy as premier. Oh my God. I don't think he'll become premier. Okay. Danielle Smith trying to get pipelines built. We'll see. They want to build a pipeline, and they have a memorandum, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Ontario. But it's kind of hard to build a pipeline when there's Manitoba doesn't want to be. That's a big the big gap in the pipeline. Okay, here's another. CN Rail lays off some 400 managers as tariffs take a bite out of shipping volume. I mean, that was to be expected. They probably do a lot of cross-border shipments. So yeah, there's more job losses. Way to go, Doug Ford. There's two parties now, traitors and patriots, Ulysses S. Grant. That's how I feel. I feel that's accurate for today. Okay. This is about the education system. Again, we're talking about the immigrants being flooded in. We have grade 3 teachers using Google Translate to teach because a quarter of the class can't speak English. Why won't the teachers union collect these anecdotes and share them as far as wide as possible? Yes, because they don't want to sound racist, or they don't want to be accused of being racist by complaining about the third world immigrant students. And they work in the woke system, so they don't want to get fired. They've been so deep into the woke system at schools that complaining about the immigrant kids, even though you want to, it's like sacrilege, heresy for the teachers. So it'll just collapse the system. Get your kids out of it, the school system. It's going to collapse. All right, that's it. So we'll see. This is going to be interesting. The budget and whether it gets passed or whether we have an election. And I honestly think if we do have an election, they're going to, like, you figure you got no NDP leaders, you got no NDP money, you got the Conservatives. Pierre's not really lighting it up with the base or with the undecided. So, yeah, you could see a majority, a liberal majority, if there's because like there's enough retarded people in this country that would give the Liberals a majority. So yeah, I don't think we're gonna vote your way out of this bad situation. So, but it'll become clear next week. It'll start becoming clear next week after Halloween. So, yeah, that's it. So when's our next broadcast? Will be Monday, November 3rd. So I'm sure there'll be lots of stories on the budget and whether we're going to have an election, and we'll see if Doug Ford pops his head up to start talking again. So Monday, November 3rd should be very interesting stuff going forward. So until then, have a nice weekend, and we'll see you then.